Imagine falling madly in love with someone impossibly beautiful, only to discover they're not human at all, and you're not their first victim. Today, we're diving into the dark story that shocked Victorian society and continues to haunt us today. Let me take you back in time to understand how this painting came to be. You might think it all started with John Keats in 1819, but here's something that may surprise you. The title La Belle Dame Sans Merci, which means the beautiful lady without mercy in French, actually comes from a 15th century French poem by Alain Chartier. But it's Keats who took this title and transformed it into the haunting ballad we know today. Keats wrote his poem during a particularly turbulent time in his life. He was dealing with personal tragedy, battling illness, and grappling with unrequited love. All these emotional experiences poured into his work, creating a masterpiece that would later inspire countless artists, including the Victorian painter Frank Dicksee. In 1901, Dicksee brought this poetic nightmare to life on canvas, creating one of the most striking visual interpretations of Keats's work. What makes this story so compelling is how it taps into our deepest fears about love and betrayal. Think about it. Haven't we all, at some point, worried about falling for someone who might not have our best interests at heart? This is exactly what Keats and Dicksee explore, but they take it to a whole new level by adding supernatural elements and medieval romance. Now, let's get to the juicy part, the actual story that shocked and captivated audiences. A knight, alone and wandering through meadows, encounters a mysterious woman of otherworldly beauty. She is described as a fairy's child with long hair and wild eyes. Already, we're getting some serious red flags, right? But our knight, like many before him, is completely enchanted. He makes what turns out to be a fatal mistake. He falls head over heels for this mysterious lady. He sets her on his horse, and they spend the day together while she sings strange songs and seemingly returns his affection. The knight is convinced he's found true love, but oh boy is he in for a nasty surprise. The lady takes him to her cave, where she lulls him to sleep with sweet words and apparent promises of love. But here's where things take a seriously dark turn. In his dreams, the knight sees pale kings, princes, and warriors who warn him about his fate. These are all previous victims of the beautiful lady, now trapped in a kind of eternal limbo, forever pale and suffering. When the knight wakes up, he finds himself alone on a cold hillside. The beautiful lady vanished without a trace. All those promises of love, nothing but a cruel deception. And now he is doomed to wander forever, haunted by his encounter with the merciless beauty. What makes this story particularly chilling is how it plays with our expectations. At first, it seems like a romantic fairy tale. Beautiful lady, noble knight, love at first sight. But it slowly transforms into a nightmare about the destructive power of desire and the price we might pay for falling for the wrong person. Now, let's dig even deeper into what makes this story so rich and complex. There are layers upon layers of symbolism here that might not be obvious at first glance, but once you spot them, they make the whole thing even more fascinating. Let's start with the knight himself. He represents the height of medieval chivalry and masculinity. He's noble, brave, and probably used to being in control of every situation. That makes his complete surrender to the beautiful lady even more dramatic. The lady, on the other hand, is this perfect blend of beauty and danger. Her wild eyes and supernatural qualities suggest something untamed and uncontrollable by human standards. She represents everything that civilization can't quite contain or understand. Think about it, she is found in nature, she sings strange songs, and she lives in a fairy cave. She's literally and figuratively outside the bounds of normal society. The setting itself is full of symbolic meaning too. The meadows where they meet represent a liminal space, a place between civilization and wilderness where anything can happen. The change from the lush, romantic meeting place to the cold, barren hillside where the knight ends up is a perfect metaphor for how deceptive appearances can be. Even the seasons play a role in the symbolism. Though Dicksee's painting shows a lush scene, in Keats' poem, the night is found in a wintry landscape. This contrast between the memory of his passionate encounter and his current desolate state makes the story even more poignant. The more you look at both the poem and the painting, the more symbols you find. The pale kings and princes from the knight's dream represent all those who have fallen before him, suggesting that this is a cycle that keeps repeating. The lady's fairy song represents art and poetry itself, beautiful but potentially destructive if we let it consume us completely. And when Frank Dicksee decided to paint this scene in 1901, he made some fascinating artistic choices that add whole new layers to the story. Instead of showing us the knight's ultimate doom, which would have been the obvious choice, Dicksee focuses on that pivotal moment of seduction, the point of no return. In the painting, we see the knight throwing his head back in complete surrender while the beautiful lady bends down from her horse, appearing to offer a kiss. It's a moment of total vulnerability, and Dicksee captures it perfectly. The knight's polished armor reflects his nobility and valor, making his fall from grace even more dramatic. Meanwhile, the lady's flowing garments and ethereal presence hint at her supernatural nature. The color choices in this painting are absolutely brilliant. Dicksee uses warm, rich colors around the main figures, creating this intimate atmosphere that draws you in. But if you look at the background, you'll notice cooler tones that create a sense of isolation. It's like the real world is fading away as the night falls deeper under the lady's spell. But here's the really clever part. Dicksee includes one subtle but crucial detail that many viewers might miss: blighted leaves brushing against the knight's arm. This small element foreshadows the tragedy to come without explicitly showing it. It's like a quiet warning whispered in the midst of all that romantic drama. The spatial composition is also fascinating. The way Dicksee positions the figures creates this dramatic tension. The knight below, the lady above, their bodies forming these amazing diagonal lines that make the whole scene feel dynamic and unstable. It's as if the whole world is tilting on its axis at this fateful moment. The artwork has had a massive influence on how we visualize romantic tragedy. Dicksee's painting is now housed in the Bristol Museum and Art Gallery, where it continues to draw visitors who want to see this moment of fatal attraction captured in oils. It's become a touchstone for how we picture the intersection of love, danger, and the supernatural. But perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this story's legacy is how differently people interpret it. Some see it as a straightforward cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked desire. Others view it as a commentary on gender roles and power dynamics. And still others interpret it as a metaphor for the artistic process itself, the way beauty can seduce and ultimately destroy the creative spirit. The story has inspired countless adaptations and reinterpretations across different media. From musical compositions to modern retellings, artists keep finding new ways to explore its themes. And in our current age of online dating and catfishing, the idea of being seduced and betrayed by someone who isn't what they seem feels more relevant than ever. If you enjoyed uncovering the sinister truth behind this seemingly romantic painting, you're going to love what's coming next on this channel. I've got some incredible stories lined up about other artworks that aren't quite what they seem. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. You definitely don't want to miss our next deep dive into art history's darkest secrets. And hey, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. What do you think? Was the knight a victim, or did his own desires lead to his doom? Share your theories in the comments below.